Hello folks, it's CarManPat here. Today we are looking at the Tesla Model Y. It is not my car, it is a rental. And that's okay, because I get to do a video and not have to spend any money on this iPad with wheels. It's an absolutely beautiful car, but I want to go through some of the things that I've found in the last couple of days driving it around that I think make it kind of annoying. And maybe it's going to be a review, maybe just an overview video. But I think it's going to be a view of a car from somebody who's not necessarily a car person, but I've been driving a car for nearly 20 years. So kind of a way to say, is this a car for every day? Is this a fun car? Is it a cool car? Is it a luxury car? Is it a good electric car? Generally, is it just a good car? Or is it just an iPad with wheels? Every single area of this car has a camera. This one here lets you see the rear view on the right hand side when you're, for example, turning right. The wheels are not metal, that's plastic, but they look nice. But yeah, it's plastic, so if you upgrade your wheels, well, they'll look nicer, but yeah, it looks all right. On the front, we've got a trunk in the front, I guess. We'll have a look at that in a second. We'll open it up. We've got some nice LED lights. They look pretty cool. The whole front of the car looks really nice. That little streamline there, it's all about reducing the drag. Hence, there are no handlebars, or rather handles to open the door handles to open the side there. And I think that's okay, but we'll talk about that in a second again. Going around the bottom here, you can see it's got a bit of an intake to cool the batteries all underside of it. That's really the main thing about these cars, is that you need to cool it. Over here, that bit there is actually for towing. In the front trunk, there is a little hook that goes in there. And if you ever need to tow this car, well, you can. To that frunk, the only way to open this is through the inside. And once you do, you can just pop it open, and it has a little bit of storage. Bit of bag storage. I mean, if you're taking your car to the grocery store, this is probably a really good place to chuck it all in. It's waterproof around the outside and seems like fairly good quality. So far, I have to admit, people complaining about the quality build of the car, I don't know. I just don't see it here. The panels are pretty straight. The touching, I guess the same amount. Like, I'm not measuring to the millimeter. We've got a little port here for your windscreen wipers, and that's really it from a maintenance point of view. Pop that down, and we got to push it in like a classic car. Should this have been an automated one? Maybe, but it does reduce the amount of stuff needed in here, and it's very small. You're not going to use it that much, I think. On the other side, we've got another camera. We've got our side view mirrors. There's no cameras inside there, but these things here are pretty small. They're obviously controlled automatically through the dash. Thought it'd be nicer to be a bit bigger, but again, it's all about that drag and reduction there of it. These are the handles. We'll get to them in a second. Let's continue to the back. So, the boot. This is the Model Y. This is the SUV version, and I think it looks pretty nice. Some people might call it an oversized rice bubble, but I don't mind it. I do prefer probably the Model 3 from the way it looks, but there is a button underneath here. There's also a camera, and this model still has the sensors, which are missing from the latest 2023 models. They don't have these, and that's a real shame. Just to reduce it by what, like $40? This thing is necessary when backing in. The automated AI system, or whatever you want to call it in there, is not that great. This is the best. It beeps when it's close, and you know that you're close to a wall. So let's open up the boot there. It is fully automated. You can press the button right here, and it'll go down. And then on the top here, there is a sensor that it will never actually hit the roof of your potentially garage. We have a lot of room in the boot here. We've actually got a baby seat because I'm here on holiday in Melbourne with my son and wife, and we got it upgraded for free through the rental place because they took so long, they couldn't figure it out, and they're like, all right, here's a Tesla. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna say no to that. So in the bottom here, we've got cables for charging. So I've been at a house that doesn't really have a proper charging port, so I've just been using this one right here, and it takes ages to charge, but it is just a normal plug. It's very long. It actually went across 2 cars to get to this car, so I'm pretty darn happy with it. If you go to a charging station, obviously you just use the provided one. You pop it down, that's really solid. It's not going to bend in, and you've got a lot of room here in there. You can also put the seats down, which is great, so if you want to fit something in there, this is very, very roomy. On here, we have the actual latches to pop them off. So if you want to pop that seat down, you go to here, press this one right here, Boom. Really nice. Very quick and easy. You don't have to go around to the side when you're putting things through. You just press the button as long as there's obviously nothing there. Once you're done with the boot, just press the button, step away if you need to, and it'll close nicely. Love it. I know a lot of new cars have that. It's not exclusive to an electric car, but it's a nice to have, definitely. All right, let's start with usability. If you don't have the app, you have a card, something like this. And you go to the driver's side, and you go here. As you can see, there's already been a lot of smudges here, scratches. You put this car here, and it opens or closes the car. As you can see, it's taking a little while. There you go, car closed, car open. It's actually a little bit annoying. I don't like this. There should be a better way. I like a key that you walk up and it's already open, but you can do that with your phone, so that's all right. If you got this, you just gotta throw it around here, and you're gonna end up scratching it. And there is a camera here, which is kind of frustrating, right? Because you start scratching this, you know, start from the top, it's gonna scratch the glass, and that's gonna ruin part of the camera's view. To open this door, you push on this wider bit and you grab this. That's okay, but it's a bit annoying. It's like you're not quite grabbing it. You put your thumb on and then you can grab it, but it's not as easy as I thought. Like, I haven't struggled with it, but it is kind of frustrating. You're just like, quickly commit, just, yeah, okay, got it. But, you know, it's cool. No drag. I don't know, maybe it's the first thing I don't like. Now, I've seen some Teslas with a white interior. I cannot believe somebody would buy a white interior. I just can't. I can't fathom it. Black, absolutely fine. You're going to get dirty. It's going to scuff. But this interior is really, really nice, but it does not feel expensive. This wood grain here, very fake. I'd call it pretty cheap, actually. This trim here, it feels really cheap. I know it's some sort of vegan leather, but it feels really cheap. The buttons, yeah, they actually feel nice. I'll give it that. Nice and clicky. They don't have to drag out. It is just a button press, so we can pull down the windows. And the windows don't have a frame. They are frameless. And when you do open the door, they do pop down a little bit to let you kind of go open it, because they are locked underneath the frame here, which is, again, interesting. But, you know, and the button to actually open door is here. This is your open button. There's no handle. It is just the button, which I kind of like. Got used to it really quickly. Really appreciate it. Now, closing the door, I feel like it's really kind of like, you kind of have to just shove it in. It's not as, like, I know, clicky like it. It's not a Volkswagen. A Volkswagen really have nice closing sounds. This one is a little bit more, I don't know, it just feels clunk. But anyway, let's keep going in the interior. We've got nice bucket seats, very soft, very comfortable. All the controls for the seats are right here. Found it very easy to find the balance of what I wanted. I sit quite far away. And as you can see, if this was a white interior, it'd be dirty as. This is all, look at all the dirt that's there. And it's not necessarily on purpose. It's just, you just get in, you know, you're gonna scuff it with a black shoe or something like that. It's really, really nice. I don't know how long this is gonna last. Like, I've seen some leather cars like completely get destroyed in here and things like that, and they were real leather. But in this case, it looks all right. It looks nice enough, very comfortable. The wheel, I don't think it feels premium for a 76,000 Australian dollar car. This wheel is not that premium, and it's really small. Like, from a wheel point of view, it's tiny. I don't know, I like real leather wheels. I do love them, and this feels kind of cheap. However, driving it around, fully grippy, very nice. Again, $76,000 car, not that great of a wheel, right? Very easy to get inside the car, and as you can see, you've got your wheel, you've got two controls, obviously the horn, and then you have a giant screen. It's massive. And then you have your R&D and parking, and also cruise control on the stick on the right, and on the left you've got your indicator. So this is a left indicator car, which is, again, fine. It does get a little bit used to if you're not used to it, but nonetheless. Over here we've got the entirety of the car's control system. So everything from aircon to opening the trunk and front, and even your charging port. We'll get to that in a second. Let's keep going around the interior. We've got two charging pads here. Really cool. You just grab your phone and put it on. There's two slots, which is awesome. Over here we've got a little holster. You just pop it open. Oh, yeah, drag it open or whatever, and then you pop it up again and it closes. It's really deep, very deep. That's massive. And then you've got another little rubber grip there at the bottom so things don't fly around. We've got 2 storage cups, and if you want to start the car, you have to put the card on here, and that lets you start the car. So you gotta kind of carry this around and put it there. It'd be nice to have a little slot for it, or maybe like a little shape for it. So yeah, but again, if you're using that, you're using that. On here, we've got another giant storage spot, and we've got a little charging port there. Good, very happy. And we've got nice leather here. Again, it's fake leather. Continuing on with this area here, we've got our pedals, brake and accelerator, and the nice little footrest over here. That seems to be very premium these days. Happy. You know, you don't look at it, you just use it. Very solid. And yeah, the acceleration is amazing. We'll talk about that in a second. There is also a glove box here, but to open the glove box, you have to go into the settings and then select the glove box, and then it pops up, which is pretty cool, but it doesn't pop back in. So you got to push it up. But I mean, it's cool. I don't know why they wouldn't just have a button there, but they like to put all the buttons in here. The only buttons you have here is this one here for sound and left and right on songs, and then this one controls your cruise control, left, right, and center, how much lane, distance between 2 cars, and that seems to be the main controls. Unless you then turn on setting and changing your side view mirrors, then this is the controls for it, etc., etc. So it's kind of like a multi-control system. I don't mind it. I would prefer more buttons, but that's okay. Over here, we have a parking button, so you tap that into the side, and then like in a Merc, you would have R and D, so reverse, neutral, and drive. And then further down, once you're in drive, you can pop it down to select and start cruise control. The back feels very, very spacious. It does have a very large sunroof, which is very pretty. It does fit, obviously, 3 people across. We've got a baby sit there. We've got some crap on the floor here, but the seats themselves are very, very spacious. I'm quite large, and I've got lots and lots of knee space, and this seat right here is a lot back, so I'm very, very impressed. A little bit of storage here. We've got 2 USB-C ports. I'm sure if you've watched another video about a Tesla Y, you've already seen all this. Feel free to skip it to some maybe more opinionated stuff, but man, there is a lot of space in this Model Y. As you can see, there is no middle console thing. It's all empty here, which is nice. You can put your foot there, but it just gives you a lot more space. You can see the seats can go back quite a lot and forward. There's a lot of storage here. Underneath here though is that battery, and look, you know, you could have put something there. There could have been like a little storage bucket here, but there isn't anything here. I would prefer a little storage bucket just to complete the look. Otherwise it's just a little bit weird. It just feels like, what are you going to put there? There's nothing really there to put. We've got a light right here. Hey, there is so much room here for my head, and I'm quite tall. I'm not really even leaning back that far, but so much room. It's awesome, absolutely awesome. The boot doesn't have a cover on it. I probably assume you can get one, but it really doesn't, so you can see into the back of it. The windows are tinted from the outside, so this is nicely tinted, so in the summer, you probably shouldn't get too much heat, but just touching it is warm. I don't know. Is there a way to tint it further? I'm sure there is. In the back, you can also see the 2 speakers. Really great sound system in the car. Really enjoyed it. It feels like it's all around you rather than coming from inside the doors, which is really, really cool. Maybe this is part of the reason you don't have a cover on the back. Much like Apple, Tesla builds their hardware and does the software. So there is no Apple CarPlay. There's no Android Auto on here. This is what you get, which is, well, this. And look, I cannot fail anything about the maps. Fantastic. This is not Apple Maps. This is very akin to Google Maps. It works really well. It's high quality, and as you can see, very, very responsive. Very happy. You can search and do all that stuff here. Great. You've got your music connected to Spotify, and because this has an internet package, all that stuff is really kind of on your Tesla. There's no need to connect a phone for internet connectivity. It can update by itself. It has all those functionalities built in. The only time you connect your phone is to do phone calls, which is right here. Weirdly enough, I connected my iPhone and none of my contacts are coming through, so that's strange, but it is what it is. You can play video games on here. Go into that, it's just games. You've got your energy and your efficiency, how much you've been driving around. These oranges ones here, well, that's actually me doing a little bit of pushing my foot down just to see how it is, and that's fun. It's good. It's, you know, it's good fun. Yeah, my consumption has been pretty high. This has a range of 420 kilometers. It's actually actually smaller than the other car. Obviously, this car is a little bit heavier, so that kind of accounts for it. The Model 3 has 480 and then usually does 460. So this must have 460, does 430. And we've got a camera here for reverse and sides. So here's your side cameras, really clear picture, like really, really nice. You can see where you're backing into, the sides and everything like that. Really happy to have that. And obviously if you chuck it in reverse, it does that anyway. We've got our music, so you can choose our songs. I don't know, I'd prefer to have YouTube music because I'm paying for YouTube music. Maybe I want to use it on there. Can you install more apps? I'm guessing you should be able to, but it is supported by Tesla. So if Tesla's like, you know what, we don't want to support that app anymore or this software, then you're done. Like, how long do iPhones last? 7 years before the software support ends? Well, you'd want to keep your car longer, right? So you need the software support for it. There's a couple of things that you can buy with a Tesla on top of the car, the extras, and you don't have to buy them at the time of purchasing the car if you want to get some rebates or lower the price and buy it later. So the first one is, if we go into the settings here and we go to software, is actually Autopilot. And I would recommend not buying Autopilot because it doesn't really work in Australia. And really the only thing that it gets you is a few extra ways to like change lanes and automatically change lanes. It's not great. It's not useful. You can still change lanes by yourself. But the basic $5,000 for just the, I guess what you would call the basic Autopilot is enough for things like adaptive cruise control, things like that. I think that's enough. So I don't think the full Autopilot package is necessary in Australia yet. I think it'll be many, many years before it's compatible in Australia, let alone functional enough to use day to day. So don't bother buying it. No point. I just don't think it's worthwhile at all. Furthermore, the premium connectivity that allows you to have obviously LTE connections, I think it's worthwhile. I mean, you don't want to use your phone all the time. It's probably good to have it without. So those things are things you need to consider, but obviously the cost of the vehicle plus these extras is something. So on top of the vehicle price, you're gonna have to consider the $5,000 to get that basic Autopilot. The other cool thing about it is the regenerative braking. So once you do take your foot off the accelerator, it's like you're braking because the brakes are using the movement of the car to transfer it back to recharging the battery. That's why your mileage or your total kilometers to travel on this charge can actually increase by a very small margin if you're going down hills a lot or if you're just letting it brake and you're not actually using your brakes, which means the brakes last longer because you're using your motors to brake and you're also charging your battery at the same time, which is awesome. It's probably how these cars get a lot more mileage. And again, you're not using a consumable like a brake for more than you need to, and hence it'll last longer. So there's really very little maintenance on this car. If I were to plug this into the charger right now, you would be charging 7 to 8 hours for that last 60 kilometers for that 100%, that 10% there. Yeah, it's a long time. It's a very long time. Going up to here, you can actually press the button on your charger twice to open the boot here to charge, which is pretty cool. And it's charging a Tesla through just the normal power point. There's my son being my son. And then you can see it's charging fairly slowly, but ETA is 5 hours to get to 430 kilometers from 380. Full self-driving doesn't exist in Australia, but there's auto steer and things like that. You know, forward collision warning, great. Lane departure avoidance, great. It assists, it's a warning, blah, blah, blah. Obstacle aware acceleration. You really don't want that on because what if it detects something that's not there? And that's another thing I'm going to talk about in a second is what it can see and what it can't. Traffic aware cruise control chime. It's annoying. It's really loud. And green traffic light chime is also annoying. You've got a speed limit of 105. You can set this as whatever you want. I don't mind this because at least this way, if I'm putting my foot down, and when you put your foot down, this car goes forward. Yeah, I don't want to pay a fine. Let's just say that. Locks, there's some keys here: child lock on and off, window lock, unlock on park, drive door unlock mode. There's a lot of settings here that probably won't really need to go through, but again, lights on automatic, display, arc, auto, dark, blah, 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 light, trips, distances traveled, navigation. This car's only done nearly 3,000 kilometers, so that's not much at all. Safety, servicing, updates, you've got your PSIs on all your cars. That is awesome, love that. And software updates, there you go. Car has done 2,112 kilometers and it's not updated. I'm not going to update it. It's not my car. I don't care. Premium connectivity. So that's your obviously LTE right there. Now to control the direction of the aircon, it's actually really cool. Look at this stuff. very, very cool. You don't have to move anything around here. The air comes out of there. Just move it around here. I think it's cool. I think it works. Obviously in a touchscreen, it works really well. You wouldn't have this in real life, but real life on a mechanical. All right, let's talk a couple of quirks that I found with the Tesla, not necessarily the Model Y, but specifically with the Tesla software. Of course, this has adaptive cruise control, so you can shift down here, right there, and set it to cruise control. Great, sits at 80, and you can set how many car lengths it's behind, and that's fantastic. It'll brake. Awesome. However, there's a glitch, or maybe in a weird way that it works, is that if you start accelerating a little bit and then start using the one pedal driving mode while still having cruise control on, what will happen, let's say you use it to slow your car down all the way to a stop or a red light, and you're just using your accelerator, but you've had cruise control on the whole time. Basically, as soon as you take your foot off the accelerator, it starts flying forward. It's weird, right? Because in most cars, if you take over control with either the brake, then it'll turn off at cruise control, which does that here. But if you use the accelerator, it doesn't turn it off, but you can slow it down because it has obviously the brakes that slow it down, the regenerative brakes. That's an issue. That's really strange. That's a glitch that most cars won't have because they don't have regenerative brakes. And so when you use the accelerator to slow down because it's got one pedal driving, you're then going to suddenly take off really quickly, which is obviously not a good idea, especially if you're slowing down to a red light. And this has extremely fast acceleration. When you put this car in drive, it has a lot of sensors here. Do not trust these sensors. They're not that great. There is a wall here, but it's not that close, and there is something behind us. Again, it's not that close. I would use the side mirrors. Obviously, there are side mirrors when you turn this on, and you can see them. That distance here, we've still got a speed, a bit of space, but it's saying stop. I would say there's a bit of space there if you're really trying to get close. It's okay, but it just doesn't feel quite right. And this thing here keeps popping in and out of existence. There's not actually anything there. There is a car, but it's like, that's not there. That's further out. I wouldn't trust this. And then when you're driving, cars are popping in and out. It doesn't quite know where the line is and whatnot. So again, the AI system, the self-driving bit is definitely not ready. And I feel like Elon has definitely lied about how far they've come with self-driving. It'll be there, it'll get there, but just not now. And the notifications or the notice, see, look at this. This is popping out. 75, 85. It doesn't know. The sensors aren't that great, and it's trying to use camera vision to try and figure this out. I don't think it's there yet. It needs a lot more work. Okay, a couple of reasons why you shouldn't buy an electric vehicle. From a technology standpoint, it's great, it's exciting, but your home has to be ready for it. If you don't have solar panels, expect to pay a little bit more for the power. Obviously, if you're charging at night, it doesn't really matter. But if you charge the car during the day, on the weekends, or maybe you work from home, then you want solar panels because then it's going to cost you basically nothing to charge the vehicle. You can also schedule when it charges, so that's a good idea to do that. Either you have a plan or a tariff plan that allows you to charge less at night or more during the day and so on, then that's one thing. Furthermore, if you're not willing to invest in a proper charging port in your home and you don't have three-phase power, then that's probably something you should not really get an electric car. If you're going to be charging it at charging locations, that's going to be an extreme amount of time that you spend over there. It's like 20 minutes to 40 minutes to charge it from zero, maybe an hour sometimes. But if you're just topping it up every so often, it will be faster if you go to these locations, but you're also going to pay more. And the whole point is to pay the least amount of money for the electricity used to run this car. So if you do have about, I think it's $750 for the unit that you can put into your garage or your home, obviously on a wall maybe, and then about $1,500 for a certified electrician to install it. And if you have three-phase power, you'll be able to have fast charging at home. If you don't, it's going to take a while. Like, for example, it takes about 7.5 hours for me to charge 60 kilometers. That's 10 kilometers every hour. So it could take literally 40 hours to charge the car fully to 430 kilometers. That's not great. You don't want to do that, and it's a hassle, it takes long, and it's just not great for your range anxiety. What's it like driving the Tesla? Well, it's really nice. It's a very luxurious drive. It's very smooth. The only sound that you hear is actually the wheels. Obviously, there's no engine noise. It's very quick to drive. The acceleration is fantastic. You can put your foot down and it flies. Like, I love that. You can come out of a corner really fast and it grips really well. Obviously the tires are pretty fresh. The car is very heavy, so when you turn, it really keeps to that turn. You're going a little bit faster, the tail will spin out a little bit, but not much. You really won't notice it. The acceleration is interesting because there's no delay, so once you put your foot down, it goes, unlike potentially a petrol car, but even more so a diesel car, where there's a significant delay when you're putting your foot down. So that's the first thing you'll notice in a Tesla. When you jump in, it's very quick to react to your foot. You don't use the brake as much because you're constantly doing one pedal driving. That is probably the highlight of this car for me. It makes it a lot easier, much more sort of natural to drive around, and I'm not slamming the brake every time I'm coming up to a roundabout or a stoplight. I'm just letting it cruise down, and it really does slow. You do feel it in your chest as you slow down, let alone when you accelerate, you feel it in your chest. I don't know if this car is a car for somebody who likes the sound of a grunty car. I would say this is not really a car, rather a transport vehicle. Like, it's not the classic version of a car that you're getting a drive and you feel that roar of the engine. It's really an iPad on wheels, in a sense that, yeah, you get from A point to B. It's really comfortable, it's really quick. You're not paying for petrol, you just charge it at home, but it's not a car. So when people say, oh, Tesla's not a car for car people, that's right, it's not, because it's not meant to be, in my opinion, for those people. It's a car for people who don't really care about cars that much, I think. So from a point of view of a tech guy, I love this. There's so much tech in here. It's so fun to drive because it, you know, it stops a car stopping in front, but all other cars have that. That's, you know, a lot of other cars. I could buy a car for 30 grand that has all those features. Yeah, it could have like 50K on the clock, but yeah, secondhand. But it would have all those features. I drove a Volkswagen GTI through Europe, and it was automatic. It had all these things. It had a touch screen, and it had all these cruise control, adaptive cruise control. It was fun. It was great. The acceleration was pretty nice. It was diesel turbo. But there's just something about this electric car that isn't really like a car, and it's a unique experience when you drive around. It is fun. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's not fun. Some people say electric cars are boring. I think they're the opposite. It's a different sort of fun. It's like going to an amusement park and driving one of those cars and going, holy shit, this is fun. I wonder what would happen if I drove this on the road. That's pretty much what this is. It's an RC car on the road, and they're fun, and this is fun. Is it a car for car people? No. Is it a car for people? Yes. So if you get an SUV like this, you've got a family, you've got a baby in the back, absolutely so nice to drive this car around. It is a brilliant family car. If you're getting the Model 3, it's a brilliant car to drive around because it's the same experience as this car. It's pretty much all the same platform. Enjoyed driving this around. It is a good drive. It is a solid drive. Does it have a lot of features beyond cars? Not really. Not really. A lot of the petrol cars are catching up in these features, but they're all going to convert to electric at some point, I think. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years. I know a lot of countries have set zero emissions goals and, you know, ban the sale of petrol cars. Sure. But is this that much different than a very luxurious petrol car? No, but it's also cheaper than a very luxurious petrol car. Like, you go to the expensive Mercs and the expensive Beamers, you're going to get all this, but for a lot more. Technically speaking, a Model 3 at 68 grand, minus maybe your subsidy for the state, so you might end up at 65, is actually a very cheap, luxurious car with all these features. So the main thing that separates this car from a petrol car, apart from, you know, the name Tesla, is really the electrical part. So how's that? Yes, there is range anxiety. I think maybe from my point of view, because I don't know Melbourne that well, I don't know where there's charging stations, and it's really slow at this house. I don't have my own charger at home. It's all via plug. But there is a little bit of range anxiety. You can see those kilometers disappearing really, really quickly. And you know you've only got 420. And I've been riding around with around 350 all the time, and then putting it on charge. I think you're going to have to change the way you act. You come home, you plug it in. You don't leave it overnight. It's not a petrol car. You just charge it when you get home. Or when you go to the shopping center, you put it in the charging location. You charge it. Even if it's $10, $15, you do it because it'll reduce that anxiety. Do I think it works well for long distances? I think if you're going less than 200 Ks each direction, yeah, of course, 100 Ks here, 100 Ks back, you'll be fine. And so people who drive longer distances aren't going to get this, and I don't think they should. This is more of a city slicker car, and hence it's probably great at it. It doesn't have a massive top speed. It's going to waste a lot of battery on highway driving. It's not efficient. I don't think it's efficient at highway driving. I just have this feeling when I was driving it that it's much more efficient on those low speeds around the city. Obviously, it's very smooth on the road and it's very sleek and lets the air flow through really nicely, and it's efficient in that regard. But I think the part that makes this car worth it is for people who live in the city or a little bit out of the city, half an hour, 30 minutes. If you want to tow something, you could probably put a tow bar on the back, but you wouldn't. That's not what it's for. But you are saving on that petrol, kind of pushing the money into the power. I'm not going to go into the economics of buying this car for the environment. I don't think it's really a video for this. It's all about the car itself. So that electricity part, I think, is probably my favorite part. It's the experience of not having to buy petrol. It saves you quite a bit of money. If you're going for a luxurious car, you'll get this at a lower price than you would if you go to a petrol car. That's what I've seen so far. Brand new. I'm talking brand new right here, not secondhand. And there is obviously some concerns with the battery, but you know what? These guys, Teslas, have been around for so long now. There's so many batteries out there. You don't even have an industry for recycling. That's not big enough yet, because the recycling plants that exist, they're all in Europe, and they're barely getting enough old battery cars to recycle, to make it scale and make it obviously good, you know, get the lithium out of those batteries and whatnot. So again, don't want to get into too much of that. So I don't think it's bad buying a secondhand Tesla. I don't think it's bad buying a new Tesla. And if you're after a luxurious car, this is an experience beyond just a car. That's what I'm saying here. It's a tablet on wheels, an iPad on wheels. And it certainly lives up to that name, because it's literally a tablet and wheels. There's nothing else here. There's no buttons. And I'm really impressed. I would love to buy one. I think the SUV version is really spacious and it feels nice. I don't know if I like the look of the outside. I think I like the look of the Model 3. It does feel dated. It's been around for so long. But ultimately, would I recommend this to anyone? Yeah, absolutely. If you're retired, this would be a perfect car. You've got solar on your roof, you've got this car, you're not going long distances, you're just driving around to the shops, maybe you're to your friends or the cemetery, whatever old people do. And this would be a perfect car for it. And it's luxurious, it feels nice, you get into it, there's no maintenance required. The only thing you change is the tires and maybe the brakes and maybe your washer fluid. Honestly, it's a maintenance-less life, and every time you go to a shop to fix something with your mechanical car, it is a pain. So the benefits of an electric car is the electrical part, obviously being able to charge at home if you have a fast charger or if you have a slow charger, either way. It's the fact that it drives very nicely, it's very responsive, it's fast. That doesn't mean it's just a Tesla, but you know, Teslas are Teslas, right? They're leading the way in the most popular car. Some cool features to charge your phone and bits like that. But again, at the end of the day, it gets you from A to Z. So it's just a very luxurious car that saves a little bit of money on petrol, and it drives really nicely. So what's all the fuss about? I think it's tech people like me who just absolutely lap up the tech that's thrown in here. And I love it. Hopefully in the future there'll be cars like this. Maybe secondhand cars of Teslas are going to be like with a range of 250, but every couple of years you lose a few kilometers, the battery does degrade. And so maybe in 20 years these cars will have like a 250 range and they're going for like 20 grand or 10, 15 grand, and you buy them, you're like, yes, sweet as, I can get to work and back, charge it, great. We'll see what happens. That's going to be in a while. Right now it's a luxurious purchase, and I'm hoping that there'll be a Model 2 that's going to be maybe a hatchback and it'll be cheaper, lower range, but that's probably when it starts going into the mainstream. Right now, it's a very expensive, luxurious car. An absolute dream to drive, very expensive. Would I buy one? I wish I could, because I'm a tech guy. That's about it. It's not for car people. That's all I'm going to say. Friends, thank you very much for watching. Let me know what you think. This was just a rant, my thoughts about it. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you all in another one. Bye.